here, Cristiano Ronaldo, 324 goals for Real Madrid. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in the club's history.
He is Cristiano Ronaldo, a man made of marble and myth. But what if that myth is a shield? A shield that hides a story of almost impossible pain. Before the muscles, there was a boy they called Too Skinny. Before the fame, there was a home filled with hunger. Before the unbreakable will, there was a heart that was literally breaking. At 15 years old, doctors told him it was over. His dream was finished. His body had betrayed him. So how do you go from that to this? This is not a story about football. This is a story about the most dangerous opponent Ronaldo ever faced, himself. Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro was born on February 5, 1985, on the tiny island of Madeira, Portugal. To millions of tourists today, Madeira is a paradise of mountains and ocean views. But for Ronaldo's family, life was anything but paradise. He was the youngest of 4 children. Growing up in a cramped home so small, the family barely had enough space to live in dignity. His father, José Denis Aveiro, worked as a municipal gardener and a part-time kit man for a local football club. But he was also battling alcoholism, a struggle that slowly drained the family of stability. His mother, Maria, carried the family on her back. She worked long hours as a cook and a cleaner, sometimes juggling 2 jobs just to put food on the table. Yet even then, meals were often simple and money was always short. She once admitted that she considered ending the pregnancy when she was carrying Cristiano, not because she didn't want him, but because she feared the family simply couldn't afford another child. In this environment of hardship, Ronaldo's obsession with football became more than just a hobby. It was his escape, a way to forget the hunger, the arguments, and the uncertainty at home. He would spend hours kicking a ball made of rags or bottles around the streets of Madeira. His determination was so fierce that he cried whenever he lost a game. Neighbors noticed the skinny boy who never seemed to stop running, who played until the sun went down and the streetlights came on. For Cristiano, football wasn't just a sport. It was survival, a dream that gave him purpose when life gave him little hope. What no one knew then was that this relentless drive born out of poverty and pain was quietly forging the mindset of a future champion. At 15 years old, Cristiano Ronaldo was already on the rise. He had left his island home of Madeira to join the academy at Sporting Lisbon, one of Portugal's biggest clubs. For a boy from poverty, it felt like the beginning of a dream. But just when his future looked brighter than ever, everything nearly collapsed. Doctors discovered that Ronaldo had a condition called tachycardia, a racing heartbeat. For most people, it's frightening but manageable. For an athlete, it's devastating. On the pitch, his heart could suddenly beat far too fast, putting his health and his career at serious risk. The medical experts warned him, if untreated, the condition could end his playing days before they even began. Imagine being 15, hearing that your lifelong dream, the one that pulled you out of poverty, might vanish overnight. For his family, the news was crushing. His mother, Maria Dolores, who had already sacrificed so much to keep his dream alive, was terrified. She later admitted she prayed constantly in those days, begging that her son would be spared from losing the only path that gave him hope. The medical doctors made it clear Ronaldo would need surgery. At just 15 years old, he was wheeled into the hospital, his entire future hanging in the balance. Doctors used a type of laser procedure to correct the problem. The operation was delicate, the risk real. If it failed, his dream was over. But fate was on his side. The surgery was a success. And in true Ronaldo fashion, he was back at training within days, something most players wouldn't even dare. His recovery wasn't just medical, it was mental. He walked out of that hospital with an iron belief nothing would stop him from becoming a footballer. That health scare could have been the end of Cristiano Ronaldo's story. Instead, it became the beginning of his legend. Because from that moment on, every sprint, every goal, every trophy carried a silent reminder he was playing with a second chance at life. After surviving poverty in Madeira and overcoming his heart surgery, Cristiano Ronaldo was ready to chase his dream at full speed. But dreams don't come free. His path to greatness demanded painful sacrifices, not only from him, but from his family as well. Cristiano first played for a small local club called Andorinha, where his father worked as the kit man. It was here that his obsession with football became impossible to ignore. Even at 8 years old, he was different. Coaches noticed the boy's explosive pace, his endless energy, and his tears whenever his team lost. Losing, even as a child, was unbearable to him. Soon, his talent outgrew the small fields of Madeira. By the age of 12, Ronaldo was invited to join Sporting Lisbon's academy, a dream for any Portuguese kid. But there was a price. He had to leave his island, his family, and everything he knew, to live hundreds of miles away on the mainland. For a boy who was barely a teenager, the move was heartbreaking. He was homesick, calling his mother in tears, telling her that he wanted to come back. But she reminded him of the poverty they had left behind. She reminded him of the dream they had fought for. Giving up was not an option. Life at Sporting Lisbon was harsh. His teammates mocked him for his Madeiran accent, calling him a crybaby because he wept whenever he missed home. Others laughed at his thin, fragile frame, saying he was too skinny to ever make it as a professional. But what they saw as weakness, Ronaldo turned into fuel. If they mocked his body, he would build it. If they questioned his toughness, he would prove them wrong. He began staying after training, lifting weights, sprinting until his legs gave out, practicing tricks until the lights went out. Coaches noticed something unusual. He was the first to arrive and the last to leave. While other kids wanted to play, Ronaldo wanted to dominate. One coach later recalled, "Cristiano lived football. He breathed it. He wasn't like the others. He wanted to be the best in the world even at 12. This mindset became his trademark. He didn't just practice, he obsessed. Every insult pushed him harder. Every doubt made him sharper. By 16, Cristiano Ronaldo was no longer just another academy player. He was already knocking on the door of Sporting Lisbon's first team. From barefoot street games in Madeira to the polished fields of Sporting Lisbon, Ronaldo's rise was no accident. It was built on sacrifice, homesickness, ridicule, and relentless obsession. And soon, the entire football world was about to notice. By the early 2000s, Cristiano Ronaldo's rise was unstoppable. He had already signed with Manchester United, dazzling fans with his speed and dazzling footwork. But behind the highlight reels and applause, he was fighting a battle no one could see. The breaking point came in 2005. Ronaldo's father, José Diniz Aveiro, died from liver failure caused by years of alcoholism. He was only 52 years old. For Cristiano, the loss was devastating. This wasn't just the death of a father. It was the death of a man who had introduced him to football, the kit man who first gave him a ball to kick at Andorinha. Yet their relationship was complicated. His father's addiction had left scars: poverty, instability, and pain. And when José died, Ronaldo carried two heavy emotions at once: grief for the man he loved and regret for the distance between them. He was only 20 years old, suddenly fatherless, thousands of miles from home, and forced to keep performing on the biggest stage in football. While teammates celebrated victories, Ronaldo often cried alone. He admitted in interviews that he wished his father had lived long enough to see his success. At the same time, the pressure of fame was beginning to suffocate him. His flashy skills, his self-confidence, even his celebrations, all of it made him a target for criticism. The media painted him as arrogant, selfish, and obsessed with his image. Every mistake was magnified, every emotion twisted. Opposing fans booed him relentlessly. Commentators accused him of diving, of caring more about style than substance. Even his tears on the pitch, the same passion that drove him since childhood, were mocked as weakness. Inside, Ronaldo was cracking. The weight of grief, the loneliness of fame, and the endless criticism pushed him to the edge of burnout. There were nights when he questioned himself. Was he truly good enough? Could he handle the pressure? Would the pain ever ease? But here's the truth. The same pressure that nearly broke him also hardened him. The grief for his father became fuel. The criticism became motivation. The doubts became challenges he refused to lose against. Ronaldo's breaking point didn't destroy him. It reshaped him. From that moment forward, he wasn't just playing to win games. He was playing for something bigger, for his father's memory, for his family's future, and to silence every critic who said he couldn't do it.
Cristiano Ronaldo's rise to global superstardom came at a heavy price. From the outside, it looked like he had everything: wealth, fame, trophies, and a body sculpted to perfection. But behind the scenes, his life was far from flawless. The loss of his father in 2005 left a permanent mark. Instead of breaking him, it hardened his mindset. Ronaldo once admitted, "I don't have a father anymore. I will work to honor him." That grief became fuel. Every hour of training, every sprint, every goal, it carried the weight of a son trying to make his father proud, even in death. But this obsession came with conflict. The Ronaldo who smiled for cameras was often at war with the Ronaldo behind closed doors. Fame brought constant attention, paparazzi chasing him, critics dissecting his every move, tabloids spreading rumors about his personal life. Privacy became a luxury he could never afford. On the pitch, the cracks sometimes showed. Ronaldo's fiery temper led to controversial moments, throwing tantrums when he missed chances, kicking the ball away in frustration, even clashing with opponents and referees. He was sent off multiple times in his early career, including a famous red card in 2006 against Portsmouth while playing for Manchester United. There were also disputes within his own teams. At Manchester United, he occasionally butted heads with older teammates who thought he was too flashy, too focused on tricks instead of teamwork. At Real Madrid, his fierce rivalry with teammates over ego and dominance, especially with Gareth Bale in later years, showed the cost of being a perfectionist. Because that's what Ronaldo is, a perfectionist. To him, second place is failure. Coaches and players have said that he would stay behind in empty stadiums after games, practicing free kicks for hours. He demanded the same hunger from everyone else, and when they didn't match his intensity, it led to friction. But perfectionism is a double-edged sword. It gave him the discipline to become one of the greatest athletes of all time, but it also created isolation. The same drive that inspired millions often left him misunderstood, painted as arrogant or selfish. The truth is, Ronaldo's glory was never free. Every trophy came with sleepless nights. Every award came with sacrifices, strained relationships, media battles, and the constant weight of expectation. Behind the glory was a man still carrying grief, anger, and an endless hunger to prove himself.
Even after winning 4 Champions League titles, Cristiano Ronaldo's football journey has always been framed as a story of glory, records broken, titles lifted, stadiums roaring his name. But if you look closer, each transfer wasn't just about chasing success. It was also an attempt to escape the suffocating pressure that came with being Cristiano Ronaldo. At Manchester United, Ronaldo became a global star. He won 3 Premier League titles, the Champions League in 2008, and his first Ballon d'Or. But the English press was relentless, mocking his diving, his flashy lifestyle, and even his tears after defeats. By 2009, he had outgrown United. Real Madrid came calling with a world record £80 million fee. It looked like destiny. But in Spain, he entered a pressure cooker like no other. Yes, he became Real Madrid's all-time top scorer, 450 goals in 438 games. But even that wasn't enough. Fans booed him at the Santiago Bernabeu if he didn't score. The media branded him arrogant, selfish, obsessed with himself. And no matter how brilliant he was, the shadow of Lionel Messi followed him everywhere. Despite winning countless titles with Madrid, the Spanish press still questioned his humility and commitment. Success never seemed enough. By 2018, Ronaldo's relationship with Real Madrid had fractured. He clashed with club president Florentino Perez over money and respect. He felt undervalued compared to Messi and other stars. So he left for Juventus in a €100 million transfer, a fresh start in Italy. At first, it worked. He scored goals, broke records, and won 2 Serie A titles. But Juventus wanted more. They wanted the Champions League. And when they failed year after year, fingers pointed at Ronaldo. Critics said he was too selfish, that his wages drained the club, that the team played worse because everything revolved around him. Reports leaked of teammates complaining about his attitude, saying he didn't connect with the dressing room. And when Juventus struggled financially, Ronaldo was painted as part of the problem. The so-called fresh start had turned into another storm. In 2021, Ronaldo returned to Manchester United in a fairy tale homecoming. Fans were ecstatic. He scored twice in his second debut, proving age hadn't slowed him. But the fairy tale collapsed quickly. United were in chaos. Managerial changes, a divided dressing room, poor results. Ronaldo's perfectionism turned into open frustration. Cameras caught him shaking his head, storming down the tunnel, clashing with managers. Some younger players complained about his intensity, calling him disruptive. By late 2022, the relationship imploded. In a bombshell interview with Piers Morgan, Ronaldo publicly criticized the club, the manager, and even the facilities. It was raw, emotional, and the final straw. Manchester United terminated his contract just days before the World Cup. What began as a comeback ended as a bitter breakup. Each move was supposed to be a fix, a way to find balance. But whether it was booze in Madrid, blame in Turin, or chaos in Manchester, the same pressures followed him. Ronaldo wasn't just running towards success. Sometimes he was running away from the unbearable weight of being CR7. Because in truth, you can change the club, the city, even the country, but you can't escape the burden of being one of the most famous athletes in the world. For most of his career, Cristiano Ronaldo was defined by Europe. Manchester, Madrid, Turin, the Champions League anthem, the Ballon d'Or stage. But in 2022, something shocking happened. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, Ronaldo walked away from European football. After his explosive fallout with Manchester United, he signed with Al Nassr, a club in Saudi Arabia. The media called it a downfall. Critics said he was finished, chasing money in a weaker league. Headlines mocked that he was abandoning competition. For a moment, it looked like Ronaldo's legendary story would end not with glory, but with ridicule. But Ronaldo didn't see it that way. For him, this was freedom. Freedom from the constant comparisons to Lionel Messi. Freedom from the booze of Madrid, the pressure of Turin, and the chaos of Manchester. It was freedom to play the game he loved on his own terms. At Al Nassr, Ronaldo found something he had been searching for: peace. He embraced a new culture, a new challenge, and a new audience. Stadiums filled with fans waving Saudi and Portuguese flags. Children in yellow jerseys screamed his name. For once, the weight of the Champions League wasn't on his shoulders. And still, he delivered. Within months, Ronaldo became one of the top scorers in the Saudi Pro League. His fitness, even at 38, stunned analysts. He broke records again, proving he wasn't there for retirement. He was there to lead. What few expected was how Ronaldo's move changed global football. His signing opened the floodgates. Soon, stars like Karim Benzema, Neymar, and Sadio Mane joined the Saudi League. Overnight, Saudi Arabia became a new frontier in world football. Critics who once mocked him were forced to admit, once again, Ronaldo had shifted the game. But beyond the goals, something else changed in him. He smiled more. He celebrated with his children on the pitch. He spoke of enjoying the simple moments of life. For the first time in years, he didn't look like a man carrying the world's expectations on his back. He looked like a man finally breathing. Cristiano Ronaldo's journey at Al Nassr isn't just about football. It's about redemption. He showed that walking away from the biggest stages isn't failure. Sometimes, it's survival. He showed that success isn't only measured in Champions League trophies, but in finding balance, peace, and joy in life. For a boy from Madeira who once slept in a tiny house, who once faced poverty, ridicule, and even a failing heart, ending his career on his own terms might just be the greatest victory of all. Cristiano Ronaldo didn't escape pressure by running away. He transformed it. He chose peace over perfection, and in doing so, he reminded us that sometimes the bravest move isn't chasing more, it's knowing when enough is enough.
Cristiano Ronaldo's story isn't unique. It's a lens into a world where talent meets relentless pressure, where success can be both a blessing and a burden. Across the globe, athletes are facing similar battles: grief, mental health struggles, media scrutiny, and the weight of perfection. Just like Ronaldo, many of them start young, driven by dreams and poverty, only to be thrust into fame before they're emotionally ready. Consider Kylian Mbappe, who rose to stardom as a teenager in France. Despite winning the World Cup at 19, he has spoken openly about the pressures of public scrutiny and the fear of failure. Or Naomi Osaka, the tennis prodigy who stepped away from Grand Slam tournaments, citing mental health as the reason. Ronaldo's journey mirrors a pattern: early success, intense scrutiny, and perfectionism that often lead to emotional and psychological strain. And the numbers are striking. Studies show that up to 35% of elite athletes experience depression or anxiety during their careers. A survey by the Professional Footballers Association in 2020 found that over half of players in the UK reported struggling with mental health at some point, many hiding it to maintain the image of invincibility. The parallels don't stop at mental health. They extend to the media and fan culture. Ronaldo faced relentless criticism for being arrogant or selfish. Today, social media amplifies every error, every emotional reaction. Players in 2025 are under constant surveillance. One missed pass can trigger international backlash. Even financial pressure mirrors Ronaldo's early life. Young athletes from poor backgrounds feel a double burden: the weight of fame and money, and the responsibility to support their families. For many, this is a silent struggle, just as it was for Ronaldo when he left Madeira. In short, Ronaldo's story isn't just about a boy who became a legend. It's a warning and a mirror for the modern world of sports. Talent alone doesn't protect you from pressure. Fame can be as destructive as it is rewarding. And mental strength isn't optional, it's essential. But there's hope. Ronaldo's journey also shows that discipline, mindset, and self-awareness can turn pressure into fuel. His ability to evolve, from a homesick teenager to a global icon, and finally to a man finding peace at Al Nassr, offers a blueprint for resilience. This pattern repeats across generations. Early hardship teaches grit. Fame magnifies flaws. Pressure can break or transform you. And in today's sports, the difference between collapse and triumph often comes down to how an athlete manages their inner world, not just their physical world. Cristiano Ronaldo's journey is more than a tale of goals and trophies. It's a story of grit, loss, obsession, and redemption. A mirror to the struggles we all face when chasing greatness. From his childhood in poverty on the small island of Madeira, to battling a life-threatening heart condition, to enduring personal loss, media scrutiny, and near burnout, Ronaldo's life shows us that success is never free. Every triumph has a hidden cost. So, what can we learn from the life of one of the greatest athletes in history? Hardship builds resilience. Ronaldo's early life was filled with obstacles: poverty, family struggles, and health scares. Yet those very challenges shaped his work ethic, mindset, and determination. The lesson is, struggle is not the enemy. It can be the foundation for extraordinary achievement if you use it as fuel. Pressure can make or break you. Even after winning trophies and breaking records, Ronaldo faced scrutiny, criticism, and emotional strain. Pressure is unavoidable, but how you respond defines your legacy. The lesson is, mental toughness is just as important as physical skill. The strongest person isn't the one who avoids pressure. They're the one who learns to thrive under it. Success isn't just titles or money. Ronaldo's move to Al Nassr taught a profound lesson. Sometimes finding peace and purpose is more valuable than chasing the biggest stage or the loudest applause. The lesson is, redefine success on your own terms. Joy, balance, and growth matter as much as fame or fortune. The story of Ronaldo also comes with a caution. Fame, perfectionism, and relentless ambition can isolate you. Without balance, even the most gifted individuals risk burnout, broken relationships, and unfulfilled lives. The pattern is clear. Early success plus relentless pressure without support can lead to collapse, not triumph. Cristiano Ronaldo's life is a blueprint for resilience, focus, and reinvention. Take inspiration from his story, but remember this: greatness isn't just about talent. It's about how you handle adversity, pressure, and the choices you make when the world is watching. So reflect. What pressures in your life could you turn into fuel? Where could you redefine your version of success? And how can you take steps today to grow stronger, smarter, and more balanced? Your journey won't be easy, but as Ronaldo's story proves, the path from hardship to redemption is possible, if you're willing to push past fear, doubt, and expectation.